Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. The agenda is to discuss the declassification of, or reclassification of Gulf Road South. You entertain a motion to reclassify it?
Are you going to take public comment now or after the motion?
Yeah, after the motion, we'll discuss it.
Okay.
I make a motion to reclassify Old Gulf Road South from Class 4 to Class 3. 3 to 4, that way, yeah.
I second.
Over to discussion.
Yes, I'm John Thrasher. I am here appearing on behalf of the Vermont Land Trust. I didn't know if the town was going to make any presentation as to why it should be reclassified from a 3 to a 4, but we're just asking if, when you consider this motion, that you consider the effect that it may have on property values if you reclassify the property from a 3 to a 4, and whether the assessment should stand. Second, we would ask that you also consider if there are similarly situated roads in town. I didn't get a chance to drive many of the roads, and it's not a good time. Deer season, people don't like you driving down roads that serve only one house. But there may be other roads in town that if you're going to reclassify this road, maybe you should be considering thinking about reclassifying other roads in order to have similarly situated properties be treated equally. So Simon's Road, looked like it could be a possibility with one house on it. Farrar Road may have 2 houses on it. You have to go through Chester to maintain that small section of road. And I can't pronounce this, I'm sorry. Canelo Road. I really wanted to see Markham Mountain Road. I didn't get out there. But those are other roads that may be similarly situated, and I'm sure you're more familiar with which roads may be similarly situated than I am. And I don't know if there were any state grants or any state money that you use to repair the road, in which case there may be a grant condition that you keep the road similarly maintained as the time that you got the state grant. So I don't know if there was any state money used to repair that bridge or put in any culverts. But oftentimes my experience is that there's a condition in the grant, condition 16 in the general conditions, that the property or the road be maintained as it has been maintained at the time that the grant was applied for. Was any state money used from that road?
No,
What's that?
just, we get FEMA money for it.
Okay.
But no state money.
So I don't know of the FEMA conditions, but the state grant says that the grantee will maintain the completed project in a manner satisfactory to the state or its authorized representatives, and shall make ample provisions each year for town highways and structures. And the grantee acknowledges that its attention has been directed to Vermont statutes annotated sections 304, duties of the selectmen, and 310, highways, bridges, and trails. So if a state grant was applied for, there may be an obligation to keep it as a state, as a class 3 road. And just to kind of summarize, we're asking that it stay a class 3 road. Last year, Vermont Land Trust reached out to Mr. Plum in November and indicated that they were taking title to the property, and Mr. Plum acknowledged that the town had an obligation to maintain the road. And he indicated that, let us know what your needs are and we'll see what we can do. And we managed to survive last winter without having any issues or concerns. The Langers, who are under contract to purchase the property, don't have any, based on the conversations I've had with Mr. and Mrs. Langer, don't have any immediate need to get up there this winter. So our request would be that, we maintain it as needed. if there is a need to get in there, but that it not be reclassified at this point in time from a class 3 to a class 4 road. I certainly understand the town's concerns. It is a tricky road, there's been benefits received as a class 3 road from the state for the last 50 years. And we would just ask that it continue to be maintained as a class 3 road. And if at some point in time, the Langers or future owners needs change and the demand is too great, this issue can always be revisited. There's nothing that prevents you from rewarning a hearing and changing the classification in the future. That's our request.
Any other comments?
I'd like to just touch on the email from the state, and we get our direction from basically the state of Vermont. I'm Charlie, I mentioned.
Yeah.
Road foreman. Mark Pickard, who's the supervisor in District 2, I spoke with him and they shared a couple emails with some information about the classification, definitions and whatnot. And one that we got here says the minimum standards for class 3 highways are a highway negotiable under normal conditions all seasons of the year by a standard manufactured pleasure car. This would include sufficient surface and base, adequate drainage, and sufficient width capable to provide winter maintenance. So, in my opinion, that road does not have sufficient width. It does have sufficient surface, it does have sufficient drainage, it does not have sufficient width to be maintained during the winter months safely or cost effectively.
The municipality does have the authority under even a class 3 road to place limitations on winter maintenance and winter use, but would then be still responsible for other maintenance outside of winter use. So it would be an option for the town to keep it as a class 3 road and place some limitations on winter maintenance instead of changing it to a class 4.
Yeah, that's correct. The gentleman that forwarded a lot of this to us is Jonathan Croft. He's the mapping section chief for state of Vermont, at least for the southern part of state of Vermont. And he said in here, and I can share this with any of you guys if you want, but let me go back to where it starts. If there's no action by the select board to reclassify an unmaintained segment of class 3 town highway, V-Trans can deem it not up to standard, which then notes the segment as nuts. On the map, in the mileage shown up it would show up in the class 4 town highway classification. This is not the cleanest way to deal with these segments of unmaintained class 3 town highways because the segment is legally a class 3, like what he was just saying. So it's legally a class 3, but it would rank as a class 4. So it would still be that section, that middle section would still not have winter maintenance done to it. So in a nutshell, you're still back to what we're trying to do by reclassifying the whole road. But he says it's a cleaner way and a more professional way to take care of it would just be downgraded to a class 4.
Even though a class 4, we still need to do drainage work, right?
It's still we're still responsible for drainage and.
Making it passable,
Exactly.
which you can't bring the grader out there anyway, so that road's
Yeah.
never gonna get graded. It's impossible to bring the grader out
All the
there.
work that was done on it, well, it was slightly wider then because it was pre-flood. The ditches weren't quite as wide. Was done, we spread gravel and we literally backdragged it with a loader.
Yeah.
That's how we got to the condition it is in now.
So under a class 4, let's say a flood happened again, would the owner be responsible for?
The town would have to make the road passable, even though it's a class 4 road, correct?
I'd have to look into the specifics, but I believe it would need to be passable. I don't know what.
Exactly.
that meant. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be short like we did this last time.
It's a good question, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's legally accurate.
Yeah, I
like
you said,
the town, class 4 roads, the town used to have maintenance responsibilities for bridges and culverts. I think a recent change in statute eliminated the need for towns to maintain bridges and culverts on a class 4 road. So that's a concern. That doesn't mean the town can't.
Historically, Andover's always kept their class 4 roads passable, correct?
yeah, oh yeah, indeed. Except for we have, if say a culvert failed, you're able to put a surface wheel and you could discontinue the culvert.
Yeah.
As long as it's a easily passable surface swale, you could do away with the culvert and let the drainage water run across the road, which we have not chose to do in the years I've been here.
Just so all the residents are aware, we have already reclassified 1 road prior to this, and there are 3 more that are being warned after this. So it is to touch on what you spoke about in your comment, that there is a total of 5 at the moment. 1 is already done, this one, and then there'll be 3 more after the warning.
Can I ask which roads those were?
Marsh Cross Road, Israel Road, and Markham Lane. Is it Markham Lane, how you pronounce that? Markham Mountain Road? Yeah. Correct.
That's the one I was, okay, Markham, and you said Israel?
Yep.
And
Marsh Cross Road,
Marsh.
Cross Road. Yep.
And what's the one that was already done?
How do you pronounce that other? Old Parmerly Road.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're gonna be able to find it.
Yeah.
Much luck.
And going back to what Charlie spoke of, even the smallest truck that the town has, it would be also difficult or impossible to go out there and turn around with the 5500 with the plow and the wing on it.
I mean, you can get turned around the way it is now out there. Like we got turned around with a dump truck, but no plow, no wing.
Yeah. And it gets tighter as the winter goes on, everything.
The bridge is a huge concern, and I spoke with Sean. Is it Minor? I'm not sure.
Oh, my husband, Langer.
Langer.
Yep.
About it. He was concerned about doing some upgrades if or when they purchase the property. The bridge is rated at 16,000 pounds. And I spoke to Mark Pickering again, who's the District 2 supervisor. And he said that is the highest rating on a class 3 road with a wooden deck that they can give a bridge in the state of Vermont. So we put in, I don't know if you picked up on it driving out there, I meant to mention it, we did a river crossing to do the repairs to the latter part of that road after the bridge. All our loaded trucks went through the river and we came back across the bridge empty. So it would be a concern for like future maintenance on their end as well, but we left the river crossing in. So that's definitely an option for them for now.
One thing that I wasn't aware of, and I would like to ask Jeanette again, is my understanding correct that in terms of taxation of properties, like the listers do not take into account whether a road is town, what kind of road it is that goes to the property? Is that?
Not that I'm aware of. The only time that I've been aware of there being something in the database they could do is if a road does not have, if it's landlocked and just has a deeded right of way, there's a slight difference in a value in the database, but I'm not aware of anything in there that talks about town maintained versus personally maintained roads.
There's many of them that are off of a state highway also. Andover's grand list doesn't say that you're off of a state highway opposed to a town road.
The other concern we have is that it's impossible to make that road comply with the state's drainage regulations, ditching. This isn't room enough.
By definition, you couldn't bring it up to the class 3 specifications.
Right.
When it used to be plowed, the snow was allowed to be going down in the
I
river?
honestly don't know. It was, I called the only previous foreman that I know that's still alive or able to communicate with me and asked him. He said he was here in '96 And he wanted to throw it up because he didn't think it was cost effective to keep it at that point. But he didn't know when the last time it was plowed. So my guess is that a lot of those trees that are on the stream side were very immature at that time and much smaller. So they probably were able to plow a lot of that snow into that brook, or possibly that brook has shifted towards the road over the years. You can definitely make out an old pond, beaver pond, swamp, whatever. I don't know how that's changed over the years. I've been here, I think this would be my 12th winter, so it's looked the same since I've been here.
Well, actually, it looks better since you repaired it.
Yeah, yep. Yeah,
A lot better.
We tried. But to answer your question, the best of my knowledge would be, yes, all the snow was pushed towards the stream.
But that's not allowed at this point.
If that's the only place it can go, yes.
But is that even possible with the equipment that we have? All the plows are right angle plows, right?
Well, no, they're reversibles. Their wings are fixed on the right side, but I pulled the truck up here, the small truck we have, so you guys can kind of take a peek at it, minus the plow. But I honestly don't think if we were to mount the wing on that, not even in the down position, like working position, that he could navigate out the road and stay out of the ditch with the driver's side tires and miss the trees on the passenger side. So there would be many trees, I think, that would have to go away, and that those river edge trees they really like to keep because of erosion and stabilization of the road itself.
This may be a naive question, but if we as owners agreed to do like a snow plowing maintenance, like a snow blowing maintenance on the road, which I would maybe go back to VLT and renegotiate to get the appropriate equipment, could this stay as a class 3? So that maintenance and drainage and stone and that kind of repairs could be on the town, as I'm sure we all know that's a considerable cost. If winter maintenance wasn't on the town, would that be a question to keep it?
I've only seen the road cleared once since we've been here, the last 9.5 years. And countryside caretaker Barry Williams did it with a skid loader.
Mhm.
And he pushed it off like every 50 feet. You had to go up to left.
Yeah, my husband does snow removal, and I'm thinking maybe a snow blower on the front of a bigger machine, skid steer or something, that's probably gonna be the way to do it.
I said that before, I said it in our little group up at the campground. I think that would be the most successful way and safest way because you have no snow banks. You can blow all the snow to the pond side, the swamp side, the stream side, whatever you want to call
Probably
it.
even blow it past the water.
Yeah, and just so you don't have it's the snow banks are what's gonna be
Yeah.
the hardest
Yeah.
part.
But you won't want to end up, if you do that, you won't end up with the snow.
Right, you don't have
Yeah.
any snow banks.
And I'm sure you don't wanna truck fishtailing into the ditch, so I completely understand that. But as far as a potential buyer of the property, a half-mile road in, maintaining it in the, even in not winter conditions is
No, it's
a scare, for
it's
sure.
about 0.85 from the store.
Up to the top of the house though.
It's farther from if you go to the house.
Is it? I thought it was 0.54.
No, it's from the store. I walk it all the time.
Yeah, no.
So it's 0.8 plus.
258 at the bottom.
to the gate, yeah. Well,
Yeah, 0.8,
2 miles walking.
Yeah, because I mean, the driveway up to the house is gonna have a similar condition and need. We're gonna have to snow plow it down.
Yeah,
It's a very
I've never
steep
been up
driveway.
that, but
So, so at that point,
Up
we
to the
already have the
gate all the
equipment, and I would assume it's not gonna be that hard to maintain for us
Won't be
when we're
much
up here
different.
full time.
it won't be
But
much different.
definitely a consideration with these recent storms heading through. I don't have an extra 25,000 or whatever the cost
Right.
is to fix any washout and that kind of
Oh,
thing.
probably more than that.
Yeah.
The good part of the road is the surface of the road now is recycled asphalt. So as far as like treating potholes and that sort of thing, like what we do on a regular basis as far as road maintenance would be pretty nil, or none at all. It's essentially a paved road now.
Yeah, that was just millings you guys put down.
Yeah, it was millings what they packed down, so.
Yeah,
And if it
that's
had
really
more
good.
traffic, it would be better, but
Yeah,
or more sun. But it's not gonna get like the potholes like the gravel roads do or the surepack roads do,
Not as quickly anyway.
or almost non-existent.
Just the section where it washed out, where you've got the larger stone.
We just covered that with millings from full of pave.
Oh, just
this last
recently?
week.
Okay.
But it has some gravel mixed in. The rest of the road
Uh-huh.
was straight millings,
Yeah.
straight pavement.
I remember when you did it.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, I haven't been out last week.
Yeah.
The other roads you're talking about, declassifying, are they same situation, narrow? I'm gonna part of mark them up there, so I know that's kind of narrow. But is that the issue on all of them? Winter maintenance versus year-round maintenance?
Very much so. And one of them has no houses at all on it, so.
Yeah, okay.
Now that one is that one is the main reason is that is one that it turns into the snowmobile trail in the wintertime and there's no sense of it being.
Yeah, those are the cabin ones. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Marsh Crossroads. It has no house on it and it's closed in the winter, so.
Yeah.
Yep. The other ones are just one home.
Right, they're also
I
narrow.
almost called them driveways, roads, one home drive roads.
Okay.
So, what Crystal said kind of goes along with, our request that it keep it a class 3 road until something changes and there's a request for more active winter maintenance, and then the issue can be revisited. But, keeping it a class 3 road gets the town some state aid money for that class 3 road. And, for the next year or two, use is gonna be minimal. And,
I mean, I think we'd even be willing to commit if we have to get the equipment. As long as we would own it, I wouldn't expect the town to plow it. But definitely going in, buying a property like this, just for the stone maintenance is a huge concern.
and so, maybe the town, has some sort of road policy that addresses winter maintenance, or keep it a class 3 road. So the infrastructure is replaced, if and when it's needed.
The only contingency I'm worried about is what you said with the state, saying that it has to be a certain width, certain amount passable. If they went out there, you can't pass 2 Priuses down that road right now. And that's the smallest car I know of on the road. So they would say automatically, like, this has to be wider with better ditching and there's nowhere to go. That's my other concern is if
I totally agree, and the thing is, that email's pretty vague.
yeah, exactly.
Passenger vehicles and then minimal width. They're not saying 22 feet with 3-foot shoulders. They're just saying, cars need to be able to get in and out.
Yeah.
They couldn't pass. No, absolutely not. And I don't know how that would ever, the future owners, if we were plowing and they had to get out for some reason, they're down halfway out. Who backs up? I've had to back out to repair that road. It's not fun. And I can back up pretty darn good. It's just one of those roads that super skinny.
And, the town already has, some roads that are NUTS classified. And if the state came in and told you that you needed to widen it, that's a reason to rewarn the hearing, and take action at that point in time. But, it's worked for 50 years. Let's keep it as it is. If it stops working for the town, for one reason or another in the future, then there can be a change.
So Charlie, I have a question.
Sure.
So the emails that you got were sort of alerting you to the idea that you needed to start looking at this.
Yes, and we were looking for just some advice of the proper way
To know
go
what to
about
do.
it, to not,
So,
like I said,
yeah.
I started this many years ago.
right,
Well, Mrs. Holloway was alive, in her late 80s, early
Yeah.
90s, knowing what the future
right.
had,
And so say we were in Arizona in winter, southern Arizona, and winter wasn't even a piece of it.
right.
There's still this big, and that's why we're looking at all of these. I'm just trying to clarify that I'm understanding. We're looking at all these roads because the state could literally come in and say to Andover, you have to take that road and you have to widen it, and you have to reditch it, and you have to make it passable for 2 cars in either direction.
If they get to that point, and that's how when Parmalee Road came about,
Yeah,
they were saying, look, we've been giving you class
right,
funds
because that
for this
road, they acted on. They
And-
said, we're
yeah.
looking and we're acting, and we had to do that.
Well, it's one of those again, when I came here, when Kevin was here when I first started.
Yeah.
We never did anything with the road. I never knew it was a class 3.
Right,
Had no reason to even look into it. I figured it was thrown up all those years. Nobody driven on it again in 50 some odd years. So same predicament with this road. It's never been maintained that
Right.
I know of in 50 years. So it doesn't really play in until you start.
Until
thinking,
somebody
well,
asks
this is
you.
going to go for sale someday.
yeah,
So I was trying to avoid it getting to this
right.
particular issue that we have now.
And if we were asked to go in and bring it up to legal specifications,
It's not. It's
we almost can't. You could throw $1 million at that and it still would be,
you
Oh,
have to
that would be a drop in the
walk-
that's what I mean. Like you could throw $1 million at it, which we don't have.
Engineers would get involved.
Yeah.
They're not going to allow you to move the stream,
Right.
and you're not going to move the hillside.
Yeah,
So that's what we're up against. And from what the gentleman that's representing Land Trust was saying before is, it's been that way forever. So kind of why change it? The scenarios change significantly.
yeah,
I agree. We haven't done anything in the past, and they're willing to maybe do the winter maintenance. But at very least, I think as board members, you need to look at if they're to sell it. Future owners.
Yeah.
What would they expect? So if that's a consideration from the board of doing what they're asking, I think certainly at very least a contract would have to be written up. While they own the property, this is the scenario that's gonna play out.
and I don't know if
think
that's something that the town of
Andover.
Andover does.
Yeah, I would think that,
I think that's,
I think as a select board, we're always looking at setting precedents. And it's really difficult to start making a special deal with each road.
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm not sure that the town would be entering into a contract with the owner of the property. I think what would happen is you would adopt a road policy. And the road policy would set forth that this particular road is a class 3 road, but there is no winter maintenance on it for the following reasons. And then you would list your reasons why you can't do winter maintenance, and that would be the road policy. And so if there were other roads in town that were similarly situated, they should be incorporated into that road policy. I know many towns have road policies dealing, with different types of road issues, but that would be a road policy rather than a private agreement between the town and the property owner. I would think would be a better way of approaching that issue.
We're better than a contract. But
Excuse me?
it would be better than doing a contract. I'm not sure we're ready to do that either.
because again, my concern would be with everything going on in the world right now that, like you said, it would really be, even if we changed the road policy for the road, and then all of a sudden the state comes in and says, hey, this is the classification of this road. And, we had somebody out there yesterday and, this is what it looks like and it really needs to be fixed now. I mean, that would really be not good for our little town.
That's how Parmalee came about.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Well,
we all.
I know where you're going with it.
Yeah, because Parmalee, I can say about Parmalee Road what he's talking about, and I'm just going to give you some. So Parmalee Road is it was this little end road at the top of a road that my whole family's lived on for 20 generations, and all it did was the end of the road just let you, instead of taking the left and going all the way to the stop sign, another 50 yards or something, you could kind of take this in the summertime. It was never in the winter because it's this steep. But you could take your 4-wheel drive and just cut right down so that you were missing having to do that little corner. And so up until, I don't know, 10 years ago, you said 50 years ago, but 10 years ago, my uncle, who's passed away now, was still taking his pickup
He was still taking.
down Parmalee, and it was literally just a field with 2 ruts in it.
Yeah.
And so what happened for us was we were, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were still getting money from the state for that.
Exactly.
And the state said, hey, because they're checking now, they're coming into towns and they're checking, hey, what are you getting money for? And they said, is this a viable road? And we were all like, whoa, not really. And it was not. I mean, it basically was not at all. So we had to go and do that. And so it would be one thing if they weren't looking, but they are looking. But they're looking now because they're looking to get that money back. Because
Legally, did you have to do the amendments to the road, or could you have declassified it at that?
That was the that was the best step to alleviate that problem, was to
To alleviate
reclassify.
So you were able to do it without giving any of the money back that you've received from grants?
It was not grant money.
It
You're
wasn't
paid
grant
per mile for each
Oh,
class of your road
right.
from the state
and
gas
this little
tax.
tiny piece, but we were
Correct,
like,
it's a gas tax.
yeah.
It's
So
a
it
gas
was this
tax.
little tiny. How long was that piece? It was
Maybe a tenth and a 1.15
like 50 feet or
miles.
so.
Yeah.
She said.
Yeah.
It made,
It was
you could see
literally-
end to end. You
Yeah.
could see
Little
it,
rock
yeah.
from the top of it where my uncle
Yeah.
would take the right into the ditch or whatever you want to call it.
But you were able to receive funds up until then and then declassify it?
Yeah.
Like we didn't have to refund.
No,
I
but
think that's what
the
you're asking.
town the state is looking now, and they're trying to determine, because they don't want to, they don't want to pay money,
Yeah.
and so we want to be in line with that. We don't want to be getting money either for roads that we can't. So this is why this has come up. It hasn't just been random. It's been because they're looking, and so that's how the first road permanently went away. That little piece.
And if we had known,
Right. If we had known.
then we could have been proactive and
Right.
had it. That was thrown up completely. That just went back to the landowners.
Right.
Correct.
Just go back to
That did not even go down to a legal trail. It went
No.
right back to the landowner. So
Yeah.
there's not even a town right away through there anymore.
So
in
I guess
in that
I
instance.
totally respect and understand what you're
Oh,
saying
yeah, I know, and
completely. But I also am terrified as a select board member for the town of Andover if we get that email that says, hey, we understand you've got some kind of an agreement, or you've changed the road, you've changed the agreements about the road, but now because of that, you have to bring this road up to specifications because we can't. And of course, there's all these other roads that, again, the state is looking at. So that would be my trepidation about making any kind of sort of, deal.
Yeah.
Particularly if you would end up wanting to snowblow it anyway.
Mhm.
I mean,
Which I think is gonna be the better route. I mean,
Yeah.
Clearly, if you've been up the hill to the
Yeah.
house, it's like that.
yeah.
So we're gonna have to go down it anyways. I'm just so worried.
And if you want to look at it from another
stone
standpoint, because of what happened with the flooding, right, it had to be fixed. So now it's in the best state it's been in a long time. So really, we would be changing it at a point where it's a really it is literally the best it can be right now, without the state coming in and saying, oh, you've got to do this to it, right? At least that's my concern around all of the.
Even residents of the town don't even know that road exists.
No, right, it's
Because
not.
I think it's the campground.
Right, because no one's going back there to use it ever.
But
I mean, for
Harmony,
intensive-
for instance, that was one that the state's driving by and they're like, hey, look, we
What
just
is
looked
that?
at this road and
Yeah.
it's, you're still getting funds. So.
But because they're looking now, it's kind of only a matter of time, before they're going to start looking at it.
To upgrade that, what's the width now, where you would have to go to, just general?
There is no set width
Oh, there
that
isn't.
I'm aware of.
Okay.
I got the orange book here that talks about the different classes, and this is what we get from the state. And it's basically standards that we need to try to follow.
Mhm.
And there's no actual written width. It just says, like I read before, passable with a basic passenger car.
Like you have to be able to, 2 cars.
every moment, or can there?
I think the zoom is down.
Off.
Yeah. Okay.
No, you have to be able
All
to.
the
Yeah,
whole road.
in other words, you can't have people pulling over to wait for somebody else. None of that. It's like you've got to be able to have people doing this beat, and it's like.
So basically talking double the width of that, and it
Right.
drops right off the left-hand side.
Into the river.
Trees in the river, since the storm, the river is even.
And it's only gonna keep getting closer.
You
Right.
go further up through the swamp, and now it
It's,
came, as we know,
Right.
it came right down through, and that's
Yeah.
how it ended up in the campground, because it changed the direction of the river.
and on the other side, it's so steep that
Yeah.
where would you even, yeah.
Charlie said you can't. It's one of those things, it's just it's not possible.
We have other narrow roads that we're able to plow because the lay of the land allows it.
That's just a
That one-
significant
right, that one
difference.
just doesn't.
Snowballing.
Yeah, I mean, again, back to the snowboard, I think that would be the best bet.
As far as the summer maintenance, I think that's a concern for the town too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That we don't get that much money out of the state.
Mhm.
We declassified all of our single house roads. I think Jeanette came up with a figure about $4,500. We just declassified all of them. That's what we get.
There's about 13 of them, I think.
Like
or something.
13 of those, and you get $4,500.
Yeah, yeah.
That doesn't
Or, yeah.
even, that's not even, wouldn't cover one road's gas.
It's just something that we're looking at already. I mean, this is not, like I said, not the only instance that this is, because everybody has realized how taxing this is now after the flood. I mean, every one of these roads, these guys, they didn't take a day of vacation as far as I know this year, and they're going into winter, have worked. And there's just less, we are looking for less, not more, and this would be a more.
A lot more.
A lot more.
Let's call the vote. All those in favor of declassifying?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Reclassifying. Five votes.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And your understanding and our position.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.